Hey guys, how's it going?
It's going well, my
Hey,
friend.
morning.
Morning.
Hey Neil, I assume you're ready for your pitch. You're ready for your talk. It's upcoming
Yeah,
a
yeah,
few days from now, or are we a full week away?
that's right. We're a week away, so next Tuesday. So yeah, I've gone through it a couple of times now, so I'm pretty comfortable with it. So I think by the time we get there, we'll be good to rock and roll.
Thanks for doing that. Really, truly, thanks.
I'm looking forward to
Financial
it.
institutions doing open source is still kind of breakthrough to me. I was talking to somebody at Open Source Summit from another financial institution, and they said they were describing just how difficult it is to persuade highly regulated industries to allow things to escape as open source, right? It's like, oh my, that's work.
Yeah, it's there's a lot of regulations obviously in fintech, obviously, and you know, without getting too political, I will mention challenges in the talk as well, and getting everybody on the same page, from the OSBO to ECS around why this is important. People can agree why it's important, but still getting alignment on going ahead and removing the frictions. It's a challenge for sure.
Hello, everyone.
Yeah.
Oh, Andrea, I've got a topic for the agenda that I didn't get on the agenda. Sorry that I missed it. Could we add a topic for AWS donation requests for 2025? And it's rather urgent in terms of timing. Robert and I have to I think it's good for Robert and I to at least coordinate, and possibly others here as well, if it's not already on your agenda.
Thanks, Mark. I added it.
Thank you. Great. Particularly with Robert here, he and I can be sure we don't step on each other.
All right. Well, I guess it's pretty fast. I think we should get started. Is that right?
Thanks for moving this up an hour, gang.
Here?
Is that because
Yeah.
we initially set it to uh Central European time and we haven't had daylight savings change yet?
Yeah, I think that might have
So
been the
it's
issue.
so it's
It's
gonna go
just
back.
it's
Oh,
just
but
a two weeks gap. So
well, but I mean, we can certainly set it to UTC. It just sometimes UTC is inconvenient for colleagues, particularly in Europe, right? With
Yeah.
the bouncing. I like
yeah.
meetings set to UTC because they don't change the actual time they meet at, but then of course it means they bounce around on my calendar twice a year when my government meddles with my clock.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm here, gang. The usual time I've got something, but don't change it just for me.
Yeah, but I think we should change it for if we've got attendees who can't be here at the other time. No shame. This meeting should be convenient for us.
But is this time now okay?
This time
And
works really good for me because it doesn't collide with Jenkins Infra Team meeting and doesn't collide with any other meeting that I have. So this time is especially good for me.
Yeah, there's a 9 a.m. Pacific that I'm always on Tuesdays.
All right, all back in the two-dimensional world.
interesting.
Hey,
Right. So the problem I see, if we set it to UTC, it would be an hour earlier, or we would need to set it in this time in UTC, but then the winter time it would be 1 hour later, right?
Yeah, I'm okay if you set it in London time. Your government still meddles with clocks, right? So that it's that's fine too.
We're gonna be chasing this for a while until
Right.
our governments figure out what to do.
Until they stop meddling with clocks. Yes, exactly.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So I say we just keep it as is until winter,
Yeah.
and then we deal with it again.
Right.
I thought we were over it. I was very disappointed to find out it didn't get passed. Like, come on.
Yeah, was it the COVID situation that stalled that conversation in the EU? I think they were happy enough to proceed and move towards votes because there was I think a 78% majority of people they polled, so they were might get rid of the time changes. And then obviously COVID just put that on the lowest priority and it hasn't come back yet.
Yeah, and in the States, it's stuck in committee in the House of Representatives in the Commerce Committee, and they can't figure out how to get out of the committee because they're worried about what it's going to do to commerce in the States
Economics,
for like trucking and stuff.
yeah. Yeah, I think if the EU or the States made the move, it would probably encourage the others for
Yeah.
alignment because of global commerce. So yeah, hopefully we get there eventually.
It's not like we're asking to do away with time zones, you
Yeah,
know.
yeah,
That would be a little more drastic.
yeah. There's one time zone in China, right? I think that's right.
I think there's only one time zone in India.
Right.
Yeah.
The rest of us have to, and there's only one time zone in Arizona. It's just
All right. Yeah, so I think we keep the time as it is now. Maybe next time there is change of time again, we make sure we are in sync. There is this 1 or 2 week gap that we need to care for. Okay. Yeah, so welcome everyone to the TOC meeting, April 23rd. A few things on the agenda. For CDCon 2024 was last week. Sessions were recorded, so they will be up for those who were not able to attend to view. I'm not sure exactly when, but maybe 1 or 2 weeks. And congratulations to all the awards winner. Roxanne is preparing a wrap-up blog, probably for next week at some point. So she asked whether there was feedback from the attendees that they wanted to share. Please share it here or reach out to her. Is anything that anyone wanted to share here today? Or...
We were pretty excited that our Utkarsh got the CDF Top Contributor Award. He super deserves it. He's been working so hard on the project. And he's at Oxford getting his master's degree in AI, and he does so much. It's like, wow, I wish I could replicate him. But we were pretty happy about that. And I thought that the sessions went pretty well. I thought a couple of them were kind of abstract, but I liked them because I could see that people were looking at ways to fix problems. There was one that caught my attention because Steve and I and the Ortelius community have been talking about it. And that's how do we start making better workflows and push it through a pull request. And I feel like that really speaks to what we're trying to do with CD events. And I feel like if people are starting to think that way, that there's no better time to really start focusing on building a message queue and a listener for CD events. Because that was a common theme people were talking about. Even Garima and the book that she's writing with her co-author was about patterns and how can we start identifying the patterns for what a good workflow looks like. So that was my takeaway.
Mark, does Jenkins have like standards or best practices for like a Jenkins file? I know those are kind of free-form text, but
Sure. Yeah, most of our Jenkins files are maybe 3 lines, reusing things all over the place. Is that what you're asking, Steve?
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so it's boilerplate. You say, I want to build a plugin. Thank you. I'd like Java 21 and Java 17. I'd like Windows and Linux. And that's
Got
the
it.
common pattern. And we show that. And we actually have open rewrite rules that will write that for you now. So we've even got open rewrite that will help with that kind of thing. And a video tutorial to tell people do it this way, listening to Mark Waite blathering on about how you do this kind of thing.
Yeah, because I've seen some Jenkins files from some of our customers, and it's bizarre what they do. They go and install like the whole Linux operating system as part of the process for
Right.
every single run of the workflow instead of
Right.
so.
And those kind of things are failures. There's a whole lecture on why you should do less in your Jenkins file and more in your scripts that it calls. That's you got it. There are lots of things like that, Steve.
Got it. Okay, cool. I may circle back around with you and find out where those are.
Happy to share them.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah, thanks for I also seen a few sessions, related to finding patterns, and there was also one session about adopting, using CD events from OpsMX directly. It was good exercise to see. But yeah, a lot of good content, I thought. Mark?
Will recordings be available of the sessions? I saw that they had cameras at the back. Were they recording, or was it just for live
Yes.
stream?
No, they told me that they were recording actually, and I think sessions should be up maybe in a couple of weeks top.
Thank you. Thanks.
Sorry. Yeah. Another piece of feedback that I got from some of the attendees, they were wondering about the presence of different CDF projects in talks. So I think we had 2 talks specifically talking about CD events, and 2 for Spinnaker and 2 for Telius, but no talks about the other projects. So I know there were submissions for Shipwright and Tecton, but not maybe as many as for the other projects. And I don't know if there was any submission about the remaining ones. Yeah, I wanted to ask what people thought. Should we have some kind of recommendation for the program committee to try and include as many projects as possible, or people think this is it depends really on the submissions?
I think it depends on the submissions, and I feel like, there was one thing that bothered me about the entire from SOS that I attended to some of the open source summit presentations I did to CDCon. Women were way underrepresented there. I went to the SOS party on Monday night, and I think there was 5 of us. So I think that the CDF has been always very good at making sure there are plenty of women in the room and on stage. And I think we did a really good job of that compared to SOS and some of the open source summit presentations I went to. At least ones I looked to see what I could go see. There were not a lot of women presenting. So I feel like we do the planning committee does a good job of trying to not just talk about diversity and inclusion, but actually act upon it. And I was happy to see that. And that means
Yeah.
that you may not get a lot of projects, but we do have women who are doing, who are on project teams. So somehow we have to just maybe get some of the, project contributors who are women to submit talks.
So as a speaker whose talk was rejected, I liked exactly how they did it. They chose the talks, I think, very, very well. And the fact that all projects were not represented was not a problem in my mind. I think choose good talks. And if the best talks are in a particular area, I think that's perfectly fine. I think Tracy's got a good point on us being sure of representation by women and other underrepresented groups is good also. Yep. But so as a rejected speaker, it stung to be rejected, but it's a good thing to say, you know what, we don't accept every talk. They don't.
On that note, there's a part of me that feels like the Jenkins community in general have been kind of, they're underloved. And I feel like that we should do something specific for the Jenkins community in the future. I've thought about it many times. I don't know how to answer it or what that would look like, but I think we just should keep that in mind because it's a primary, Jenkins is it's our, I don't know what you call it. It's our anchor. we should make sure that those users are well represented, and we're not seeing CloudBees do Jenkins World anymore. And quite honestly, Jenkins World used to be massive. So sometimes I feel we're missing an opportunity.
We are doing 10 years anniversary of Kubernetes this summer. When's the next anniversary for Jenkins?
Jenkins will be 20, I think, in a year and a half.
Start planning it.
Yeah, that's
Big deal.
Good point. I mean, I'll have to double check the dates. But Jenkins 20 years old in, if not 1 year, it'll be within 2 years.
Yeah, I mean, we
reached the age of majority not long ago.
Yeah, well, we get it. Yeah, but Tracy, yeah, I agree with you. There's still relevance. There is. Yeah, absolutely. And then as part of that is an opportunity to highlight the other projects alongside it. So
yeah,
absolutely agree.
and let's hope that in a year we'll have a larger membership for CDF, so we have more marketing spend to do something big for Jenkins. It would be amazing to do that.
Yeah. Hopefully that'd be great. All right. Moving on, and at the Open Source Summit, Europe in Vienna, there will be half a day CD Minutes Summit. So I think the program chair is to be defined. There is one candidate, and the CFP is not open yet. And the event will be collocated for the Open Source Summit EU, and the CFP for the Open Source Summit EU is open until the end of the month. Just included the link here. Yeah, that's about it. Any comment on that?
Yeah, I submitted a proposal. So, but just given Mark's enthusiasm for fintech and open source, I can tell you the title. The title is Beyond Boundaries: The Evolution of Open Source in Fintech, Fidelity's Story. So I think it's a pretty good abstract. So myself and another guy in Fidelity submitted that. So fingers crossed that we we could get the opportunity to go and talk about that as well. It'll be on similar themes on what the workshop or the talk will be next Tuesday around developing kind of a community and culture of adoption and contribution in fintech and how we went about it. So fingers crossed for that. If not, I hope to attend anyway, but we'll see. That's a while away yet.
Thanks, Neil. Sounds like a very interesting submission. Hopefully it will be accepted. I'm not sure I got the title right, but feel free to fix it.
It's close. It's the evolution of open source in fintech, Fidelity's story.
Oh,
I hope it gets accepted. If it doesn't, we would love to have that at one of our Ortelius events. So keep that in mind.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Thank you.
and there will be a CFP for the CD Mini Summit at some point as well. Cool. Yeah, so Roxanne mentioned also ask one question. Last year we had a CDCon co-located to the Open Source Summit in Japan. And she basically asked whether we have interest in doing CDCon Japan 2024 as well. So this year it will be in October, I think towards the end of October. Last year it was in December. Yeah, so it will be end of October.
Yeah, and last year I believe the crucial people from this side of the planet were part of Red Hat, and Red Hat's not doing CDF any longer. So I'm not sure that we've got anybody who will be at Open Source Summit Japan that could be a sponsor for or an organizer of CDCon. Others on the call may voice differently, but last year I think it was somebody from Red Hat who actually attended.
Well,
I
last year
believe you're correct.
it was Adam from Red Hat who was the chair,
Right.
and I was there too.
So
Do you think we?
Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you were there, do you think we should do it again? Do you think it would be? Do you think it's important for us to do it?
It's a relatively small event, but it was relatively well attended. I mean, it was a smaller room, smaller than the North American Open Source Summit for sure. The thing is that there is a lot of space for innovation in that space and in that part of the world. At least that was what Fatih found during his visit in Japan before the event. And so we had some connections there. And so it might be interesting to continue to cultivate those relationships, but we don't have to do an event there for that. But
I know the DC's been talking about trying to better leverage the ambassadors. I feel like maybe we should go back to our meetups and potentially maybe do a meetup during that time. Would that work?
Yeah, I was going to say something similar where we don't need a whole CDCon mini summit or separate track, that we just somehow get fit in with speaking slots into the bigger piece of it, or like Tracy said, a meetup. I think our meetup that we had in Seattle worked out really well. Got to meet some new people that I never, from like Shipwright and things like that. So
yeah, our dinner, that was very sweet and fun. I thought it was a great time for us to talk to each other. I really hadn't, like, Mark and I have talked before, but we had a lot more fun this time. So yeah, I think that maybe we try to figure out a way to start leveraging the ambassadors. I don't know, how we can do some outreach to them to see if there's anybody in Japan who could do a meetup during that time, even if we had somebody talk at that meetup. I don't know. Meetups can be hard. I know I ran the meetup for New Mexico, and I had almost 300 people, believe it or not, showing up, but it wasn't just for, it turned out that people were looking for information and we were doing them on Zoom and people were showing up on Zoom. But even when we had that many people in the meetup, I think 40 was the highest number of people we had that attended. So I don't know if it's a good model or not.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I've been to Meetup in Japan before. I think the thing with Meetup, if they have international speakers, is usually they would have a translator helping. But that's maybe good because I don't think that there was no translation at CDCon last year. So maybe that kind of restricts the audience who's interested in joining the event, because if talks are in English, not everyone feels comfortable, going to the event, listening to the talks in English, even though slides are available and so forth. So maybe organizing something where either there is a local speaker or there is an international speaker, but with a translation, live translation available might be helpful.
I'm game for that. And I haven't been to one of the marketing committee meetings in quite some time. And I hope that Lori is going to be continuing to work with us. That would be great if she did. But maybe I don't know how to keep this conversation going to make sure we don't drop it. Maybe reach out to Roxanne and she can keep it going for us. Or Garima. Any other thoughts how to keep it going? Because I know we all get busy about doing things and none of us are doing marketing stuff, and we ventured into a marketing discussion. So
I think those are the two people that we should put on their to-do list. They're not here, so we could get to do that.
yeah.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I can reach out to Lori and Roxanne about this. I mean, Roxanne asked the question about CDCon to begin with, so I'll bring the feedback from this discussion to her, and we can involve Lori as well.
Oh, the one thing about, sorry to go back and forth on this, but the one thing about CDCon that I noticed we didn't do that we did really well in Vancouver was during the breaks, we had the projects do demos out in a lobby area.
Yeah.
I think we might want to do that again. Or just make a note that if we can, even if we set it up and then allow the projects to decide if they were going to use it or not, and just have an open schedule.
I think that's the way it was in Vancouver, where you went and just signed up for a time slot.
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah. I'll bring this back to Roxanne. I'm not sure whether there was a space available for that at the Open Source Summit, because
There was. I looked around. I thought, oh, we could have done it in this little corner. There were spots. And it was pretty quiet. There were areas that we definitely could have taken over to do that.
And Tracy, you did that little like roundtable talk in that one area too.
Yeah, I did a Ask the Experts, which was actually really, really good. And maybe that's one of the things we could have done is ask the projects and just had some tables set up.
Yeah. No, I mean, space, there was for sure in terms of conference center. I mean, from the Linux Foundation event team point of view, if they let people set up another track in parallel to the existing ones. Because we don't pay for the event, so I think we have to follow the rules of what they give us.
Yep.
But yeah, I agree that was very good things to have there in Vancouver. So I'll bring that back to Roxanne as well.
Okay. And I think even if we did something as we had an area that had some roundtables and just called it that, ask the projects.
That's good. All right. So moving forward, project updates. Just wanted to mention that we had an update on the project update blog because Screwdriver was not included there originally. So it is updated. Roxana added it. So we have the blog post updated there. Bring it up. Yeah. It's here. And yeah, right before CDCon, we did a CDF release 0.4, and there is a blog post for that if folks are interested. Also, right before the conference, we released the State of CI/CD report, and there is a blog post to discuss about that, and with a press release associated as well. And finally, there was another question from Roxanne, and she mentioned last year we brought up an idea about doing spring, summer CDF hackathon. And she was asking whether there was still interest in doing something like that, or whether we wanted to do something like Oktoberfest instead. Personally, I don't recall. Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
We don't do Summer of Code, but we do Hacktoberfest.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
I would not want to detract from Summer of Code for those projects that do it, like Jenkins, by having a separate Hackfest in the summer. Hacktoberfest is great. We like it a lot. It's become, for us at least, the predecessor to Google Summer of Code prep. So we point people to it. Hey, if you think you're going to do Google Summer of Code, you should join Hacktoberfest. But summertime is, at least in the Jenkins project, is going to be a busy, busy time because we're getting ready to drop support for Java 11. And we're getting ready to switch to Jakarta EE9 and all sorts of other complex things. So a spring or summer hackathon is I don't think something that Jenkins would want to participate in. Okay, that's dangerous. Me talking like I know what Jenkins wants, but just the people that I know of who would support that kind of thing are probably not going to say yes to it for summertime.
It's hard. I mean, the mentorship part is hard. It takes a lot of time. It really does.
And on the Ortelius side, we do our own project events. So we do like a blogathon, and we do our virtual mini conference and stuff like that. So like you said, Mark, a lot going on.
Okay. So that sounds like a no. Then, but definitely, I think we already confirmed last year as well. We still wanted to do Oktoberfest, so that sounds good. Yeah, last item on the agenda, Mark, you brought this up. AWS donation request for 2025.
Yeah, so we received notice from Mila Zhao of AWS that they are accelerating the timeline for the approval of 2025 donations from AWS. And they need those applications submitted by end of day, I believe tomorrow, so that they can then review them and approve them, and approval will be happening in the June or July timeframe of 2024 for the 2025 requests. So the Jenkins project will submit theirs. My goal is to submit it today. Robert, I assume that, or are you the one who would handle other submissions for CDF? How would you like to handle that?
Well, I mean, look, ideally, no. Ideally, look, you've had the most success with this, with your submission. And so what I would encourage is to share that with the other folks. There's got to be a way that we can alert it's got to be an email, something like that. Hey, heads up, if you want credits from AWS, this is what you got to do. This is what Jenkins did, and leave it at that. I think just letting them know, like our friends at Spinnaker and others, that it's there. I don't even know if they request it. So, but it's, I could tell you what LF is doing on the whole, which is the PMO is taking this over. But, but they're managing that for all their different projects. So I took point on it this year for LF, just to show them how it was done, because it was a little dispersed and nobody wasn't sure, and just like, okay, let's get this in alignment, and just helped everybody understand how AWS likes to view the world. I don't think it's any surprise or news to anybody that they really lean in on their leadership principles. So utilizing those would be a good thing. And that's what you did. So my recommendation would be to say, hey, we did this, other people should do it. I don't know, Andrea, how that gets out to the other projects. I mean, I kind of wish we had there's got to be an email list where everybody's on, like the project leaders, right?
Well, certainly we've
Yeah.
got the CDF Slack channels, right? We've got the Slack where I could certainly post there. It's not email, but I could certainly post to CDF Slack and say, hey, here's this.
Yeah, and just
Yeah.
and tag a few of them, and
Right.
Yeah.
and
So
just
we-
let them know it's like, hey, this is happening. I did it. And that's the best you can do, right? I mean,
Okay, so-
it's their project, just like you're taking ownership and leadership for Jenkins. Yeah, they
Okay.
kind of had to do the same thing for theirs.
Okay, well, and
Yeah.
that was a point of clarity. Thanks for clarifying. I think what that says is individual projects should make their submissions to AWS. If they are an AWS infrastructure consumer, then they're an excellent candidate to submit a request. If they're not already using AWS, they're using somebody else, then there's no point in them submitting for a
Well,
request to
obviously,
AWS.
yeah.
Right.
And so if they want to shift over, maybe, okay, whatever. But just letting them know that it's there, at the end of the day, it's really the maintainers that
Right.
are ultimately responsible.
Great.
We're
That's-
always trying to help out, but really, that's it.
Thank you. Good. Okay,
Yeah.
that clarified for me. That got the exact clarity that I needed. I'll submit and I'll share the text of the submission, etc. Great. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to share the spreadsheet, might want to take out any, account IDs, anything like that, that kind of stuff. The other stuff's fine, show them what's up. And feel free to tag me on it.
Okay.
Yeah. So we do have project representatives for each project towards the TOC. So if you tag me on that as well, I can then tag the other project representatives.
Great. All right. Thank you. That's all that I had.
Yeah, and I'm R2 and CDF, just like everywhere else.
All right. Anything else, anyone? If not, then good to see you. Good to see everyone, and until next time.
Hey, when's the next one we're getting all together at? Open Source Summit Europe?
in person.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's unlikely that I probably won't be at Open Source Summit in Europe. That's my travel
Well,
budget
certainly
is.
not with that attitude, Mark. Dude, you keep teeing me up for that line. I love it. I love it. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Seriously, I'm going to find ways to mute Robert Reeves, right? Is that that's
Yeah,
great.
go ahead. I think Andreas, he can do that. He's host. He can do that.
Great. No, I
Well,
do. Yeah.
let me know. Would love to see y'all. I enjoyed, when we, the few of us that were able to get together and hang out and grab a bite. That was pretty cool.
You know,
Neil, you're going to be there.
I'll be in Finos, London in June. I don't know if anyone here is attending that.
Yeah, that's not me. There's a thing in Seattle going on that conflicts with that. What about, no. Maybe that one. I'm sorry. I was thinking open source in finance forum in that in Europe. Is that in London? I'm getting
That's
that confused with the
the
Finos
one, yeah.
one.
Yeah, that's the one actually, yeah.
Oh, okay, right on. Yeah, that's conflicting with WASM and Cloud Native Security Con, but Open Source Summit in Europe. Any chance we'll see you the Open Source and Finance Forum in New York, September 30th, October 1st?
No, unlikely. We're definitely, there's been more of a swing this year towards local events for us anyway in Fidelity. So US based associates, I know we had representation there last week, Anisha collected the award, which was great, but she was obviously based in the US. For us over here in Ireland, we're being, directed more towards European and the UK events for now. I'm hoping I'm hearing rumors things might open up again, September onwards. I still think Japan would be a really, really, really long shot, but you can always hope, right?
Yeah, and that Ireland to New York flight is long enough to be annoying, but not long enough to get good
Yeah.
rest. It's the worst.
Like, yeah.
All right, gang. Well, look, let me know where y'all are going and would love to see you again. Because I'm gonna be at them all, except for the one that Neil mentioned.
Well,
Sounds-
thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
See you, gang.
Bye.
Hey, I am super dizzy again. I did take that Percocet though. See if I can just push through it here. Ah, shit. None of them work. How come? right. What you doing? What is it?
What's happening? You got left out? Did you get left out by your sisters? It's too little, you can't go. Come on, then.